Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's another edition of Let's Talk Buffs. Hey, man, we're coming off a big W here. Um, for Colorado Buffalo fans, this is an awesome one. I think we all kind of expected to win it, Carter. We came on here and we expected to win, but it feels good nonetheless. This was a good ball club. I'm not going to come on here and just slander Cincinnati after it. I think they're a good ball club. CU's just better. But Carter, how are you feeling today, man?
Feeling good. I mean, the Buffs are, for one, bowl eligible after this week,
Yes,
and
sir.
two, we are ranked. That's an awesome accomplishment. First time we're ranked this year and bowl eligible with a lot of winnable games down the stretch. Feeling great, Joey.
Yeah, no, it does feel good to be ranked like that. The little 23 by our name. When I look at the TV now, I mean, it looks good. It looks fitting. It should be a little higher, or it will be a little higher. I'll say. I think by the end of the season that in the teens range is going to look a lot better than it is in the 20s range. So the higher we get, the better it'll look. Um, but it was just a big week recruiting wise. We talked about it before the game happened on our Friday show, Carter. Uh, but it sound news coming out from that, like the visits and the players that came, it's all sounding like, hey, we're going up right now. What information do you have on that?
Yeah, I mean, huge weekend. Some of the biggest recruits we're going after were on campus. Some of our biggest commits were back in campus. Obviously, the big one, Julian Lewis. Sounds like his visit went amazing. He's been hinting at some stuff with Carter Smith commenting, smirk emojis, just toying with the fan base a little bit. The other one, big USC commit, Carter Smith, big offensive tackle, 4-star. Talking to Jordan Seaton on Instagram, calling him his future teammate. Just big stuff like that. And obviously 4-star wide receiver Adrian Wilson becoming the 10th commit of the class shortly before the game on Saturday was cool to see. Visit pictures look great. I'm glad we finally got the new jerseys with the Big 12 logo on them for our visitors, but it seems like a huge recruiting win coming from this weekend.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think those are like the two big flips that you're looking for, right? It's convenient too. They're both teammate or both committed to the same school, so they have history. They know each other. It could take one for the other one to fall, even though it feels like they're both kind of in it together right now. It really does feel that way. Um, I love the way to me. I don't know if it comes across this way to you, Carter. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like when Phil Lodeholt took over this unit, he has a lot more control than the average position coach on scholarships given, guys that he wants to go get. I want to build this up from the grassroots and then build it up that way. And you're kind of just seeing it right now with all the offensive linemen he has offered. It's not just one, it's just not two, like it was this last season or the first season prime off season prime came in. This is a completely different way of them going about it. And it just feels good that they're trying to build young and within and grow that way. Carter Smith being their highest rated recruit in this offensive line class if they land him.
Yeah, not only that, not only the high school level, but you've also seen he went out and got the veteran transfer guys like Justin Mayers, Khalil Benson, but you also saw him and the staff go after guys like Peyton Kirkland and Zachariah Owens, younger guys coming from big schools, really good athletic ability that he wants to develop during the year. Those are two guys, if they haven't used their red shirt already, they'll probably redshirt and be in the lineup, I would assume, next year. So he's really like kind of added the youth aspect to this offensive line, but he still needs some time, and I think he's done a fabulous job with this unit.
Absolutely. Let's hope JuJu comes. Here's a question I was asking some people on Twitter, and I was curious what you had to say about this. Let's say let's live in the world real quick of the hypotheticals. Let's say they do land a JuJu, Carter, a 5-star quarterback out of high school. Shador leaves. I know we're all in on the season right now, but hey, who doesn't like think about the future a little bit too? Um, do you think that they would go still after a transfer quarterback and then sit JuJu for a year, let him develop? Or do you think that this is the freshman quarterback's job to win if he comes in?
I really think this is Juju's job because I think that's honestly what they're pitching him. I would expect them to still add a transfer. You still probably going to have Staub in that room. And one of Prime's big things with his program this year is you're not given anything. You have to earn it. We saw it with LeJontay Wester getting that number 1. So I'd expect there to be some competition there, but getting a guy like Julian, a flip from USC, all the hype around him, I would expect him to get the start right away. I think Prime has full faith in him. He seems like a guy that just has it. I know he's really young. He reclassified, so I think he might not even be 18 by the time he gets on campus. So it's definitely a young guy, but I would expect him to start right away.
So yeah, I started thinking about this too, and I would agree. I think that if he were to come in, he would just start right away, Carter, because I can't imagine a situation where you're landing one of the top transfer quarterbacks and just one of the top high school quarterbacks in the same class, just from a money aspect. Like, how much NIL money would that cost you? Like, you would be stuck in kind of like the DJ with Florida State situation without the losing aspect of it, just because you would have a guy who's not doing anything for you, but you're paying him a lot of money. So I just don't know if that's the best way of using your resources. Maybe they still do go out there and get a transfer guy, but it's more of like a low to mid tier guy, a guy that you're happy to come in. Hey, you can start if we need you to. You're just not like a game changer here type guy. So I think that would kind of be the plan. I just don't know if you could add 2 high price guys like that in one season. Just have one sit on the bench. So
yeah, no, I don't see them doing that. I think teams either go young or portal in that aspect, and it would definitely, if they were to get a guy, would be a step up from Staub, a guy that if JuJu didn't start great, they could trust him to go in and win a game if they needed to. But I think if they land JuJu, he's their guy.
All right. Well, I like that idea. It would be fun to see a quarterback grow within the Colorado Buffaloes program as well. Hey, before I get into the offense and defense from the Cincinnati game, and we're going to get into it, I want to start with the defense right after this. I want to encourage everybody, please go like and subscribe to our channel. Carter and I are going to try to go live every single Tuesday, and then we're going to record on Thursday for a Friday morning drop previewing the next game. So make sure you guys are doing that. It'll help the channel out a lot. That's how we grow. And thank you to everyone who's in here now. Let's get into the defense, though, Carter. Defense versus Cincinnati. Just give me idea of how you thought they performed, what stood out to you the most, and then I'll add on to from there.
I think the defense had probably one of the biggest momentum shifting parts of this game. Cincinnati won the coin toss and elected to take the ball, and the defense came out a ton of energy. Immediate 3-and-out. You saw a pass break up from Travis, and then Bentley stuffing a run, DJ with a great pass break up, and a 3-and-out to start the game. With that crowd, how riled up they were, with how electric our offense is, I thought it was a great game from the defense. They did an excellent job defending the pass. Cincinnati's receivers had statistically one of their worst outings of the season so far. I really thought DJ and Travis and Preston got a pick taken away from him. I thought all of them played really good.
Bad call, man.
It was a bad call. Obviously, with as much man as we play, there's going to be just scheme problems where we're just naturally going to get beat. They're going to call a beater. That's going to work out good. But I thought they played really good. They only had 1 sack, which was a little underwhelming. But I think the refs might have missed some holding calls here and there. But overall, they put a really good game.
Man, you mentioned the secondary, and that's like the main thing that stood out to me in this game. This was one of those games I've come on here, especially early in the season, and I was giving Livingston a lot of shit for how much man coverage he runs. But this is one of the games, bro, where I was like, all right, I get it. You just think our corners are better than their wide receivers. And for this game, it was like undoubtedly our corners are just that much better than your wide receivers. Something that really stood out to me, and it has since game after game after game improvement, is watching these corners, Carter, fight through some of those beaters. Like, you have these teams, Cincinnati ran a lot of them too, where you're running these natural pick routes and stuff like that. Hey, well, I might run a corner and I'm going to rub the defender so you can run the slant right behind me type plays. And watching these corners get better week after week after week at fighting through that contact, they're still not even switching, really. Any of this is not something they've included. What they're doing is they're just fighting through that contact and still making plays on the ball. From there, they're undercutting the ball and getting PBUs and actually affecting the play, not just being around it. This secondary was smothering this game. And it's something we mentioned in our preview content is if you took the first read away from this quarterback, he was going to kind of go panic mode. And you saw it. You did see it. Like, it wasn't always – I wanted to see it more end up in those panic type throws where he's just chucking it downfield and someone makes a play on the ball. It wasn't necessarily that, but it was him like running into the back of his offensive line. And in these type of issues, just completely taking his eyes off downfield throws. So that was awesome to see. That was the biggest standout for me was the secondary. That includes Hodge, McKinney, Hunter, even Hood and his opportunities. Like these guys were smothering this game. I thought that was really impressive.
If you go back and listen to our preview and exactly what you just stated, you take the first read away and he kind of throws it up the field. I think that Preston Hodge almost interception is a perfect example of that. He kind of just let Hodge make a play on the ball, little tug, bad call. But yeah, they really stood no chance. I mean, we're going to get into the offense and how they kind of got back into the game a little bit sort of at the end, but we had a lead the whole time. We were in control the whole time, and it was a huge point to the secondary and the way this defense played.
So what did you make of their run defense? Cincinnati did find some success on the run. They had 3 guys carry more than 5 times, and I'm not going to count Sorsby. They had 2 guys really run the ball for over 5 times. One guy, Kiner, he had 17 carries, and they had Pryor with 5 carries. Both averaged over 5 yards a carry. I thought Kiner played really good. But what did you make of this or Kenner? I don't know how you say his name. But Cincinnati's running back. You know who I'm talking about if you watch the game. What did you make of this Buffs run defense this game?
I think they started out pretty good. There were some missed tackle opportunities, but they were really getting downhill and stopping the run. I think a part of that stats, how it looks a little bit better on paper, Cincinnati did not stop running the ball when they were down. I think we might have shifted a little bit towards, okay, let's not get beat. We can afford all this time coming off the clock. We can afford a long drive. And they just kept running the ball. They took a ton of time off the clock when they were trying to come back. So I think
they took like 6 minutes off the clock, and now we have to score drive. It was
I know. So I think that kind of plays into their rushing stats, inflates that a little bit. But overall, I thought it was good. Chidozie, Okunlola continues to be good in the running game. Bentley and Nakai still playing great in the running game. Those two are one of the best linebacker duos in the country. I will stand on that hill. Those guys are dogs. But overall, I think it was the run defense is what it's been pretty solid this year with the linebackers playing as well as they have.
Yeah. The only criticism I did have, and it's honestly kind of encouraging because when I watched the game live, I was expecting, okay, who's not playing great up here for the Buffs defense? Again, it was just like more guys are missing tackles, which I think you can clean up on. I think if you just have guys that can't disengage from blocks, you have linebackers that are reading the wrong holes. You have all of these type of issues, processing, football IQ, stuff that makes you just a bad football player stuff going on. That's an actual issue. I think some of the tackling stuff can be cleaned up on. And I came away more encouraged. It was not the greatest game for the Buffs run defense. There was a time I remember very clearly it was a cutback. Everyone's doing everything right? It's a cutback going to our right. And Cam just has a one-on-one with the running back. He just misses the tackle. Now, some of that you have to credit the running back for just being really good. He was breaking a lot of tackles. He's been breaking a lot of tackles this whole year. But these are things that I left encouraged about because I'm like, oh, okay, we can clean up on the run game. Chido, he is a monster. That's one thing I definitely want to put in place. I think kind of like for him going to the next level in the NFL, it's kind of a hard evaluation because you're looking at him like, man, how can I get a 5'11" guy out here on the NFL field? But the more I watch him, the more I'm like, he's just so technically sound. He has that knee drop technique. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, he does it perfectly. When a D tackle is getting doubled, sometimes they'll literally just drop to one knee. So they can't get pushed anymore. Like he's a smaller guy, right? So if he stays on two, there's a chance that he's kind of backpedaling. If he drops to the one knee and just leverages down, gets under a guy, he's able to just kind of stand his state. And then he pops right back up after the second offensive lineman on the double starts to work upfield, sheds, makes a tackle. That the type of stuff where I'm like, he is a technically sound football player. He's really good, and he just doesn't get moved very often. So he's huge to this defense.
He's been one of the most valuable transfers from this last offseason on this team. One of the biggest emphasis was stopping the run, and he's probably been the best player in that regard. And he just, I mean, his nickname is perfect, the block bully. He eats him up.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch him and Dante Corleone on the same field at the same time. But yeah, Chido's, he's unbelievable, man.
He really is. He really is. Anything else you want to get off on the defense real quick before we move on to the offense? Anything that really took your eye after watching the film?
No, that's really all I got. Just secondary played great.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Secondary was amazing. The other thing, the only other thing I have here is one thing I love about these Colorado linebackers, it wasn't like their greatest game of all time. They're especially in like the first quarter and stuff. They some of them were just like reading the wrong gaps, but when they're able to play downhill, and they do, I love Nikhai Hill-Green meeting an offensive lineman in the hole. I love it. There's so few linebackers, Carter, that are able to just like stack an offensive lineman and then disengage. It's crazy. It's like I'm watching 90s football. It's a different era. This is not what should be going on in this year of college football defense. These linebackers are getting lighter year after year. It's more about covering guys. It's more about running sideline to sideline. It is so rare now that you're able to see a linebacker just meet an offensive lineman in the hole, stand him up straight, and disengage. That's rare stuff. So shout out to him. Bentley even had a few times this game where I was like, oh my God, these guys just want to hit people. So I love it. I love our linebackers. I really, really do. Moving on to the offense, though, what stood out there?
Man, you can't talk about this offense without talking about Shedeur. This guy set a new CU record for consecutive completion starting the game, going for 13 for 13. Finished the game at 25 of 30 for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The guy was unbelievable, man. He played great. I really thought they got their run game going. Another stat, this is the first time all year CU has had a running back get over 20 carries. I thought Isaiah Augusta played great. He finished with 91 yards, averaged 4 yards a carry, got in the end zone. I thought the offensive line had one of their better games. They're using their pullers really effectively now. We saw Seaton start to get some run pulling. Savell Smalls still looks great as well. I think I really like that Mayers and Benson combo at guard moving forward. Those are probably my two guards moving forward, but I would expect them to keep rotating that as well. My only problem, and we're going to talk about the conservativeness at the end of the game. I wish they would keep landing on, but other than that, I thought the offense had a clinical game.
Yeah. Let's talk about these weapons real quick, Carter. Man, it's hard to guard the Buffs because a 3-yard dump off in front of the quarterback's face could turn into a 30-yard gain. It really can. They have 3 guys that are all able to do that, that being LeJohntay, Jimmy, and Travis. There's been times this year where Colorado's lining them up against the opposing defense, and the 3 best athletes on the field are all wide receivers on Colorado. Seriously, they're just running past people, spinning around them, doing whatever the hell they want in open field and getting positive yards out of it. I can't stress that enough. That is something that we might even be taking for granted at this point. CU's ability to create yards after the catch is ridiculous. It's insane. Jimmy, the touchdown he got called back, we were talking about it before the show. The way he was able to catch that ball, and if you go and watch that play back on All 22, I'll post it right after we get off the show so you guys can see it. That's at Let's Talk Buffs on Twitter. He catches it. He has to kind of turn back to the quarterback, right? It's not a perfect throw. It's not in stride. So he has to kind of turn back to the quarterback. He kind of like shuffles, looks at the defense, and just accelerates. It was like, oh my God. These guys were running full speed at him the whole time, and Jimmy just takes off and goes. This is the type of stuff that 99% of the schools in the country, they maybe have one guy. A lot of them have zero guys that are able to create plays like that. CU has 3. It's really crazy. And if you included Omarion in there at a point, because he was really good at creating yards after the catch too, they had 4 guys that could all do that. It's such a luxury.
Yeah, the way they're able to just take the sideline and go. You see it all the time with Travis on his comeback routes. He'll catch the ball, he'll wiggle a little bit on that defensive back, and then it's just boom, gone. He had that one that I think he got down to like the 4-yard line in this game. We have said it all year long. The one word to describe this offense is electric. And with the wide receivers combination with Shedeur and how Shedeur plays, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Even like little plays, like they ran, I think it was an RPO, and it was in the third quarter. It was an RPO, and it turned into a bubble screen for LeJohntay. Underrated aspect of this unit too is I think they get so excited for each other being able to touch the ball. They all know this could go big, that they block the hell out of the defense when it's a screen and stuff like that. So another aspect, you got to give credit to the offensive coaching staff specifically for that, getting them engaged. I don't think you typically see a LeJohntay Wester sized guy, a Jimmy Horn sized guy, even a Travis Hunter sized player go out there and want to put a DB in the ground because their teammate has the ball in their hand.
If you watch on the All-22, the other receivers on the field when Jimmy's running down the sideline or when Travis is doing something crazy or LeJohntay's weaving through, after they're done blocking, you would think they scored the touchdown. I have never seen like the wide receivers get so excited for each other scoring touchdowns. This team really is a family, as Coach Prime has preached that.
Absolutely. Another shout out we have to give is to the O-line. Rewatching this game, I thought this was the best the O-line looked as a unit. Like, and when I say that, I'm talking about like the subtleties, like the little small things to O-line where you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, this unit is working together type stuff. So many plays I've seen in the past where with Colorado, and this is why Carter and I have come on here and been like, man, they got to stop changing these guys in and out. But things where it's like, passing off defensive linemen. If it's a run play, the double is to engage on the defensive tackle, and another guy is supposed to work downfield to get a second level defender. That was in full effect of this game. That was like the best they've done in that facet, was just the timing of things, how the offensive flow is going for the blockers, because the running back is reading off these guys, making their cuts off these guys. The timing has to be perfect. And for this game, it was their best effort in that regard.
And we talked about it on the preview show about how much trouble that stunts can cause this offensive line and in passing downs. And watching this back, they handled these stunts amazing. Benson did a great job in that. You said it. This was the best this offensive line has played. I think this might have been Phillip Houston's best game starting at right tackle. There weren't too many moments. The offensive line didn't give up one sack. We only had that one sack. That was that time where Shedeur is thrown to the left, just holds on to the ball. If this offensive line can play like this, it's awesome.
Yeah, it did feel too like there wasn't many quick pressures in this game. The pressures that came were either because of play design. Like I'm remembering one in my head where Shedeur was very clearly looking for a deep post, wasn't there, covered up, and now he's trying to scramble out of the pocket, which is a pressure. Most of the time, honestly, not in Colorado's regard, but for most college football teams, the pressures are on the quarterback. Sacks are on the quarterback. And for Colorado, it's kind of been 50-50 through the prime era. But yeah, no, it was a really, really exciting game for that. And the last thing here for me on the offense, Carter, I think I figured out why Augustov is the most productive running back and the best choice here for your every down carrier for the Buffs. And it's not even that I think he's the best player. It's that you know how you can compensate for a line that maybe isn't always right is just running as fast as you can at the defense. And I think that's kind of what Augustov does. I don't want to make it sound like Dallin's dancing around in the backfield or whatever. It's just Augustov is such a straight line runner. That's like he is such a vertical guy. I am running straight to the hole. I'm not doing anything but that. And he maximizes yards in that regard. For an O-line that can struggle in certain facets, he at least is going to get you 3 because I'm running straight to the line. I'm not even allowing you to tackle me in the backfield.
Like you just said, maximizing those things. He does a great job, like hitting the hole hard, but then also wiggling like through the hole. He has got some really good body control when he's doing that. And though that alone can turn 3 yards into 5 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's your most efficient back in that regard for sure.
Yeah, for this Colorado team. I think like if you put Dallin in a different situation, I think Dallin might he probably is, honestly, if I'm like seriously, he's probably the better pound for pound. The offensive line they're dealing with. It could just be the case that Augustov is your best option here. I do because there's times Dallin, other than Micah, is your best contact balance back. Once he hits the second level, he's gonna, bounce off some tacklers and stuff like that. Where Augustov, I'm going straight through you. I'm gonna fall forward. That's really what he's doing out there. And like you said, he's wiggling through the hole. Different things like that. Anything else on the offense?
I think just
situational football.
Bouncing off of that, I think the way this offense is built, the running plays don't need to be boom plays because their boom running plays come from bubble screens or RPOs to guys like Wester and Horn. So I think the way they're using their running backs is what they need. They need 3 or 4 yards because they can get their big plays from using their wide receivers in quick game.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, Carter, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let's talk about situational football. This is something you hinted at earlier in the show, Carter. It felt like Colorado dominated this entire game. The entire game. Like when I was sitting there watching it live, I was just screaming at the TV, doing all that type of stuff. I was content, like rolling around third quarter. I'm sitting on the couch. I got my hands like this on the couch. I'm watching football now. I'm not stress-free. But they stressed me out towards the end. They really did. The way they started playing football at the end, they started play calling at the end, stressed me out. How do you think they resolved this issue? And then also, what do you even think the issue was?
They were up 31-14 going into the fourth quarter. And it was like, yeah, game's over, whatever. They are honestly lucky Cincinnati took that 7-6 minute drive and kept running the ball. Look, I think I talked about it on the postgame show with David. I think part of this could have been if Shedeur was banged up, if his hip or ankle, whatever he had, was bothering him a lot, and they just kind of wanted to get out there and then get back off the field and not get too crazy with Shedeur. But when you have the receivers you do, you have got to use them. You saw it, at the end of the game, I think it was Jimmy, when Shedeur underthrew Jimmy. Like, why did they not do that more? I know that's when they kicked the field goal, I believe. But just taking shots, run the ball once, take a shot, and then run the ball again. If you have to punt. I just think the play calling was the problem. They were so locked in on running the ball, and they can't get that conservative and let teams get a chance to get back in.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. So here's the thing. I think CU has a good enough run game to where they can balance out your passing attack. I don't know if they have a good enough run game where they can just chew the clock out. Like we're just gonna, we're running, and like we know we're running. Meet us. Like I don't think we have that type of run game, if I'm being honest with you, which brings some issues, right? I think that brings some like concerns at the end of the games where it's like, where if you have a lead, how do we just run the football out? I personally think it's exactly what you said, Carter. You have these phenomenal athletes at wide receiver. I think you incorporate them in screens and quick game to compensate for some of your running issues. Of course, you got to be scared because these guys could run out of bounds and stuff like that. Maybe some huge mistake happens, but in these screen situations, like I think you're just as likely to fumble as you are to throw an interception, if I'm being honest. So I would lean on some of that. How do I incorporate these wide receivers in space? Along with running the football, and just tell Shedeur he needs to be smart in those situations. If the wide receiver, if for whatever the reason the screen is blown up or the quick game play is blown up, that's the situation where it's like, Shedeur, you should probably just take the sack. We're running the clock out. This is the type of stuff. We'll just run as fast as you can out of the line of scrimmage and try to get as close back to where we were, type stuff. But I agree. They're kind of in just a tough spot because the run game isn't good enough to just chew the clock out of it at the end of a game. So they just have to be creative on how they get around that.
I think you're exactly right. I would love to see run the ball on first down. All right, let's say you get 2 yards. We're looking at 2nd and 8. You cannot tell me lining up Travis and Jimmy on each side and running mesh, one of them is not going to break open. If for some reason one of them doesn't break open,
though, I get it.
Shedeur, just fall down. We'll take our loss and we'll punt the ball away. Like you're exactly right. We don't have a good enough running game to just run.
Yeah. It's just those situations where they're able to stack a box. CU has been good using their running game as a complement to their passing game, using the running game to balance their electric passing game. It's not. We don't got Kansas State and Giddens. Like this isn't our run game. Last segment of the day. This is a new segment we are going to introduce here at Let's Talk Buffs. Let's give a player of the week. We're going to do both one offense and defense. I'm going to try to do a different player than you are every single week, and just give a shine to a Colorado player. Let's start off with offense. Carter, who do you have there?
Yeah, talked about him earlier, brought up his stats earlier. Isaiah Gustav finally felt like we had a competent running game. I said it earlier, first time we've had more than 20 carries. I know that was probably a little bit more because we were trying to chew the clock out. But first time all season, 4 yards a carry, got in the end zone. I thought the offensive line complimented him great, but he's my offensive player of the week.
I like it. Yeah, definitely. It was their most balanced game, I thought. So, yeah, good job. I think that's a good one. Mine is Jimmy. He was just gliding this game. He was creating so much after the catch. He was ridiculous. I brought up his play where he should have scored. He threw up the peace sign. I don't care. That should have been a touchdown even after that. It shouldn't have been a flag. It was bullshit. But, yeah, Jimmy is my offensive player of the week. I love to see him play good. I love seeing him with the ball in his hands in space. He's electric. So give me your defensive player.
Yeah, I'm gonna go DJ McKinney. I think he's really shown a lot of flashes this year, and I think this is one of his better games. We talked about the secondary a lot on this show. He had a huge statement game, proving he's one of the best DBs we're gonna see, or teams are gonna see, alongside Travis Hunter. I thought Preston Hodge had a solid game. Travis Hunter, obviously, this is like basically the Travis Award, but I really thought DJ stood out.
Yep, I think DJ really stood out. You mentioned Preston. Preston was a monster this game. That slot fade where he turned his head around and got the PBU. Like this DBs were ridiculous. You could have picked any one of them, Carter, and they were really good, these corners. I'm going to go Chidozie, your big nose tackle. He's ridiculous. He just controls the middle of that football field so well. I mean, even sometimes there's one play it was like a stretch play to the outside, and I see Chidozie with an arm out driving his offensive lineman all the way to the hashes. It's like, man, this is the type of nose guard I want. Like he's forcing cutbacks on stretch plays is ridiculous. So yeah, guys. Hey, thank you for everyone who joined tonight. Hell of a show, Carter. Yeah, and make sure you please, guys, are liking, subscribing this. It's going to help us grow. I'd be super appreciative of it. We're going to be back with a morning episode on Friday previewing the next game. So shout out to all of you, and go Buffs.
Go Buffs.